An incremental model of a solid-state device is one which represents the AC property of the device at desired operating point, B DC property of the device at all operating points, C complete AC and DC behavior at all operating points, D AC property of the device at all operating points. The correct answer is AC property of the device at desired operating point. What is the correct sequence of the following step in the fabrication of a monolithic bipolar junction transistor? A3412, B4312, C3421, D4321. The correct answer is 4321. For an N-channel enhancement type MOSFET, if the source is connected at a higher potential than that of the bulk VSB0, the threshold voltage VT of the MOSFET will A. Remain unchanged, B. Decrease, C. Change polarity, D. Increase. The correct answer is remain unchanged. Which of the following is used for generating time-varying waveforms? A. MOSFET, B. PIN diode, C. tunnel diode, D. UJT. The correct answer is UJT. Calculate the resistivity of N-type semiconductor from the following data: density of holes 5 x 10 12 cm 3. Density of electrons 8 x 10 13 cm 3. Mobility of conduction electron 2.3 x 10 4 cm 2 v sec. And mobility of holes 100 cm 2 v sec. A. 0.43 m, B. 0.34 m, C. 0.42 m, D. 0.24 m. The correct answer is 0.34 m. An one-sided abrupt junction has 1021 M3 of dopants on the lightly doped side, 0 bias voltage and a built-in potential of 0.2 V. The depletion width of abrupt junction Q 1.6 x 1019 CR 1608.87 x 1012 floor m is A. 0.036 nm, B. 0.6 m, C. 3 mm, D. 1.5 mm. The correct answer is 0.6 m. N-type semiconductors A. are negatively charged, B. are produced when indium is added as impurity to germanium, C. are produced when phosphorus is added as impurity to silicon, D. none of the above. The correct answer is are produced when phosphorus is added as impurity to silicon. In all metals, A. conductivity decreases with increase in temperature, B. current flow by electrons as well as by holes, C. resistivity decreases with increase in temperature, D. the gap between valence and conduction bands is small. The correct answer is conductivity decreases with increase in temperature. The voltage across a zener diode A. is constant in forward direction, B. is constant in reverse direction, C. is constant in both forward and reverse directions, D. none of the above. The correct answer is constant in reverse direction. The threshold voltage of an N-channel enhancement mode MOSFET is 0.5 when the device is biased at a gate voltage of 3 V. Pinch off would occur at a drain voltage of A. 1.5 V, B. 2.5 V, C. 3.5 V, D. 4.5 V. The correct answer is 2.5 V. Which of these has degenerate P and N materials? A. zener diode, B. PIN diode, C. tunnel diode, D. photodiode. The correct answer is tunnel diode. A Schottky diode clamp is used along with switching BJT for A. reducing the power dissipation, B. reducing the switching time, C. increasing the value of, D. reducing the base current. The correct answer is reducing the switching time. From the given circuit below we can conclude that A BJT is PNP, B BJT is NPN, C transistor is faulty, D not possible to determine. The correct answer is transistor is faulty. In a piezoelectric crystal, applications of a mechanical stress would produce A plastic deformation of the crystal, B magnetic dipoles in the crystal, C electrical polarization in the crystal, D shift in the Fermi level. The correct answer is electrical polarization in the crystal. In which of the following is the width of junction barrier very small? A tunnel diode, B photodiode, C pin diode, D Schottky diode. The correct answer is Schottky diode. If the reverse voltage across a p-n junction is increased 3 times the junction capacitance, A will decrease, B will increase, C will decrease by an approximate factor of about 2, D will increase by an approximate factor of about 2. The correct answer is will decrease by an approximate factor of about 2. Which of these has highly doped p and n region? A pin diode, B tunnel diode, C Schottky diode, D photodiode. The correct answer is tunnel diode. Measurement of Hall coefficient enables the determination of A recovery time of stored carrier, B type of conductivity and concentration of charge carriers, C temperature coefficient and thermal conductivity, D Fermi level and forbidden energy gap. The correct answer is type of conductivity and concentration of charge carriers. The units for transconductance are A ohms, B amperes, C volts, D Siemens. The correct answer is Siemens. The amount of photoelectric emission current depends on the frequency of incident light. A true, B false, C, D. The correct answer is false. When a p-n junction is forward biased, A the width of depletion layer increases, B the width of depletion layer decreases, C the majority carriers move away from the junction, D the current is very small. The correct answer is the width of depletion layer decreases. The carriers of n-channel JFET are A free electrons and holes, B holes, C free electrons or holes, D free electrons. The correct answer is free electrons. The depletion layer around p-n junction in JFET consists of A hole, B electron, C immobile charges, D none of the above. The correct answer is immobile charges. Junction temperature is always the same as room temperature. A true, B false, C, D. The correct answer is false. The mean free path of conduction electrons in copper is about 4x10⁸ m. For a copper block, find the electric field which can give on an average 1 eV energy to a conduction electron. A 2.62x10⁷ Vm, B 2.64x10⁷ Vm, C 2.5x10⁷ Vm, D 2.58x10⁷ Vm. The correct answer is 2.5x10⁷ Vm. When a PNP transistor is properly biased to operate in active region, the holes from emitter A diffuse through base into collector region, B recombine with electrons in base, C recombine with electrons in emitter, D none of the above. The correct answer is diffuse through base into collector region. At room temperature, a semiconductor material is A perfect insulator, B conductor, C slightly conducting, D any of the above. The correct answer is slightly conducting. The static characteristic of an adequately forward-biased p-n junction is a straight line if the plot is of Vs versus A log I Vs log V, B log I Vs V, C I Vs log V, D I Vs V. The correct answer is log I Vs V. In an n-channel JFET, AIDIS and IG are considered positive when flowing into the transistor. BID and IS are considered positive when flowing into transistor, and IG is considered positive when flowing out of it. CIDIS IG are considered positive when flowing out of transistor. DIS and IG are considered positive when flowing into transistor, and ID is considered positive when flowing out of it. The correct answer is IDIS and IG are considered positive when flowing into the transistor. The intrinsic carrier concentration of silicon sample at 300 K is 1.5 x 1016 m3. If after doping the number of majority carriers is 5 x 1020 m3, the minority carrier density is A 4.5 x 1011 m3, B 3.33 x 104 m3, C 5 x 1020 m3, D 3 x 105 m3. The correct answer is 4.5 x 1011 m3. A diode is operating in forward region and the forward voltage and current are V3 0.3 cV and I5 0.2 cm. The average power dissipated is A 15 MW, B about 15 MW, C 1.5 MW, D about 1.5 MW. The correct answer is about 15 MW. Two identical silicon diodes D1 and D2 are connected back to back shown in figure. The reverse saturation current IS of each diode is 10 amps and the breakdown voltage VBR is 50 V. Evaluate the voltages VD1 and VD2 dropped across the diodes D1 and D2 assuming KTQ to be 25 MV. A 4.983 V 0.017 V, B 4.98 V 0.017 V, C 0.17 V 4.983 V, D 0.017 V 4.98 V. The correct answer is 4.98 V 0.017 V. For BJT transistor, the maximum power dissipation is specified as 350 MW if ambient temperature is 25 C. If ambient temperature is 60 C, the maximum power dissipation should be limited to about A 100 MW, B 250 MW, C 450 MW, D 600 MW. The correct answer is 250 MW. The concentration of minority carriers in a semiconductor depends mainly on A. The extent of doping, B. Temperature, C. The applied bias, D. None of the above. The correct answer is temperature. Which of the following has highest conductivity? A. Silver, B. Aluminium, C. Tungsten, D. Platinum. The correct answer is silver. In a bipolar junction transistor, the base region is made very thin so that A. Recombination in base region is minimum, B. Electric field gradient in base is high, C. Base can be easily fabricated, D. Base can be easily biased. The correct answer is recombination in base region is minimum. Compared to bipolar junction transistor, JFET has A. Lower input impedance, B. High input impedance and high voltage gain, C. Higher voltage gain, D. High input impedance and low voltage gain. The correct answer is high input impedance and low voltage gain. The drain characteristics of JFET in operating region are: A. Inclined upwards. B. Almost flat. C. Inclined downwards. D. Inclined upwards or downwards. The correct answer is almost flat. As temperature increases, the forbidden energy gap in silicon and germanium increase. B. The forbidden energy gap in silicon and germanium decrease. C. The forbidden energy gap in silicon decreases while that in germanium decreases. D. The forbidden energy gap in silicon increases while that in germanium decreases. The correct answer is the forbidden energy gap in silicon and germanium decrease. When a reverse bias is applied to a p-n junction, the width of depletion layer A decreases. B increases. C remains the same. D may increase or decrease. The correct answer is increases. The Hall constant in psi bar is given by 5x10 3 cm 3 coulomb. The Hall concentration in the bar is given by A 10 5 cm 3. B 1.25 x 10 15 cm 3. C 1.5 x 10 15 cm 3. D 1.6 x 10 15 cm 3. The correct answer is 1.25 x 10 15 cm 3. Which of the following devices has a silicon dioxide layer? A. NPN transistor. B. Tunnel diode. C. JFET. D. MOSFET. The correct answer is MOSFET. Which statement is false as regards holes? A. Holes exist in conductors as well as semiconductors. B. Holes constitute positive charges. C. Holes exist only in semiconductors. D. Holes and electrons recombine. The correct answer is holes exist in conductors as well as semiconductors. Photoelectric emission can occur only if A. Wavelength of incident radiation is equal to threshold value. B. Wavelength of incident radiation is less than threshold value. C. Frequency of incident radiation is less than threshold frequency. D. None of the above. The correct answer is wavelength of incident radiation is less than threshold value. The reverse saturation current of a diode does not depend on temperature. A. True. B. False. C. D. The correct answer is false. In a piezoelectric crystal, application of a mechanical stress would produce A. Plastic deformation of the crystal. B. Magnetic dipoles in the crystal. C. Electric polarization in the crystal. D. Shift in the Fermi level. The correct answer is electric polarization in the crystal. The value of A in a transistor. A is always equal to 1. B is less than 1 but more than 0.9. C is about 0.4. D is about 0.1. The correct answer is less than 1 but more than 0.9.